All right, we are live.
Awesome.
Cool.
She's back.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
We're just going to hang out for 5 minutes until we get top of the hour, and then we'll start this. But
Can we see as people join us?
We can't see that. Yeah, unfortunately.
we can see comments. If they leave comments in any of the Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, it will appear over here for us. But yeah, I don't. Oh no, I do see viewers. We have one viewer. It's in the top left.
Okay.
Oh, I can't see it.
Oh, maybe I can. Okay.
Yeah, you can. I can't.
Yeah, I'm expanding my window, like maybe. But
Yeah.
no.
Cool.
So do you remember? You remember when we started? When we were talking to the point of sale company? I mean, can you go all the way back there to remember?
To remembering all that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can go pretty far back. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we were totally psyched because we're going to be one team. It's going to be them and us.
Yeah. And I think without jumping into it too much, yeah, it really showcases one of my favorite principles of show versus tell. Like,
Yeah.
I think this was an opportunity where, when we've been doing a lot of player coaching, this was a big opportunity for us to be like, no, we're going to like roll our sleeves up. We're going to show you all these crazy, extreme, effective, the techniques we see on the most effective teams, we're going to do.
Yeah.
And we're going to do it with you.
Yeah. It's the ultimate player coach.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Right. It's like you're not taking lessons, but you're playing with, McEnroe or Tiger Woods.
Right. You're getting dirty.
Yeah. You're learning real time.
Yep.
How to
And we went like 0 to 100 right away.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. But it didn't work out like that.
No, yeah, we hit some road bumps, but still.
It's about how you pivot, and I think we did really great pivoting.
Yeah, we had to pivot because we had a deadline, or the company had a deadline.
Right.
Yep. And at the same point, I do reflect upon that. That project, that team is the best team I've ever worked on, hands down. So, we dealt with a lot of issues, but at the end of the day, working with that team, the things that we did and the amount of time that we had was awesome.
It was pretty incredible. Yeah.
Right. And not only working with so much talent, but it was enjoyable. I'm not saying it didn't get stressful, but it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
It was nice that we didn't have to explain like the ways of working. We just worked.
We just did. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like everyone was on the same page.
Yep.
That's a big thing too. When you are going in to get something done, you're already trying to swim up the current. You don't need anything else pushing back on you. So if you have everybody in that same flow, you're definitely going to show. Yeah.
And there were some cool new things we kind of, found. Like there's some techniques we found in doing this because everybody had the same values and we were all familiar with the same practices.
Yeah.
We didn't have to do that. What is this? Are you sure we can do that? I don't know if that's a good idea.
Yeah.
We're already on the same page.
It works.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. And you didn't have to explain anything.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to do this. Okay.
Yeah, we had that working agreement session, and I think it was all just like, we all agree on all of these things. Okay,
That's
cool.
right. Yeah.
All right, we're right at time. So welcome everybody.
Hey.
This is another Better Software Sooner chat. Today we're talking about the point of sale rewrite case study we wrote. This is going to be a conversation about that case study we wrote on our website, about a real practical example of us helping deliver a point of sale rewrite for a global, worldwide organization, payments organization, where we delivered it 25% sooner than estimated. We'd love to get questions as we're talking about this, and we'd love for the chat to kind of direct that way. So if you have any questions, if you have anything you want to bring up, feel free to write it in the chat. Yep, I'm Kody. This is Wyatt. This is Jessica. We all worked on the project along with like 20 other industrial logic people. But we're going to kind of bring up the story, some of the things that didn't make it, I guess, in the case study, but will aid to it.
Did you share the link? Did you share the link to the case study?
I shared the link in the LinkedIn post.
Okay, all right.
And because I don't know how to share a link from here, but it's on our website. If you go to the top, there's a case study section under content case studies, and it's the one right at the top. So folks can follow along. But to give context of that, I'm going to read just the first two sections because I think that gives the background in case folks viewing haven't read this yet. So, worldwide payments organization was experiencing customer attrition on its 10-year-old point of sale app. The point of sale marketplace, as we know, is tremendously competitive. There's so many options. And this point of sale had a dated UX feel. It lacked the small form factor devices that competitors supported. It locked customers into using iOS, which meant purchasing more expensive equipment. A lot of point of sales are on Android just because it's a little bit cheaper. Thank you, Penny, for linking that. And to solve the attrition problem and address customer pain points, the Worldwide Payments Organization proposed creating a new version of the point of sale. It would include a modern UX. It would target a tablet form factor and a small mobile form factor, and it would run on both iOS and Android via React Native. The original point of sale development team estimated it would take 2 years to rewrite the point of sale app. 2 years where not a lot of work could be done on the legacy point of sale, which was still used in lots and lots and lots of restaurants across both the US, Canada, and other countries. 2 years is too long. They needed a solution for their customer attrition today. So senior leadership reached out to us at Industrial Logic to collaborate in building the new point of sale. That's the context. So we were kind of alluding to this, or talking about this in the 5 minutes prior, but what have we talked about, like the beginning of the project when we kind of started off? We had a chartering session where we talked and made sure we had like the same working agreements, but we were talking earlier that because we were a bunch of IL coaches, IL developers, we all kind of are built upon the same value principles. The working agreement session was so quick. We were all like, oh yes, we want a test drive. We want all code to be reviewed. So we're continuously reviewed. Yeah. So it was paired. It was mobbed on.
Continuous deployment.
CI/CD, yep.
It was so easy because we were all on the same page.
Yeah.
And because of that, insane things happened. Like we got this thing delivered in 25% of the time. And that's just the full where they decided it was ready to be delivered. But we actually even wrote the app where we first built a walking skeleton, kind of the first like vision of what a product would look like.
Yeah, bare bones. Yeah.
Very bare bones, getting the scaffolding. I think we built the CI/CD pipeline in the first month.
Yeah.
So we could actually just really do when we pushed a trunk, it would push to production. We did all that immediately so that they could have a product. They could show something to their stakeholders, their customers, as soon as they can. Ooh, we got a good question here. Let me show it.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Thank you, Matt. So Matt Anderson asks, would it be cool to see the working agreements? Do you think it would not have worked as well if it wasn't only IL folks?
Actually, it wasn't only IL folks.
That's a really great point. And so, in all transparency, when we went into the working agreements, everyone said, "Yep, we're all into it." And then when we actually dove in and worked that way, we discovered that the client wasn't really on board, and so we had to kind of shorten it up. We took on all of the development as an IO team, and took responsibility for delivery, and we discovered along the way that we had to increase the team size. We started out, what did we start off with? Maybe
six or eight developers, I want to
6 or 8
say.
developers.
Yeah.
And then we started discovering the true magnitude of the requirements and the feature set. And we started doing some forecasting, probabilistic forecasting, using the Monte Carlo simulation. And we discovered that we needed to increase our throughput or to hit the
date. Yeah.
the date. And so we then spun up a team, multiple teams in 3 other time zones. Is that right?
Yeah, across time zones.
Across
We
time-
had a team in India. We had a team in Europe. We had a team in the United States and Brazil.
Yeah.
Yep. And in the United States, it was all the entire United States.
Yeah, we're all
I'm
over.
in the East Coast. There's folks in the West Coast, folks in the Central Time Zone.
Right.
So,
So even time zones between us. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to go back to Matt's question here, like, yeah, we originally were supposed to have some developers from the client alongside with us, and some things we totally agreed on, but some things there was definitely some pushback, and we tried some experimentation. From that experimentation, there was some good things, and then at the same point, just from kind of, again, we had a lot of people all on board, and they kind of. There were some developers that didn't like full-time mobbing, going from 0 to full-time mobbing.
Yeah.
And because we needed to get this thing out yesterday, we just didn't have time to really take our time. And eventually we decided that it was better just for us to kind of move forward as one group. But at the same point, they found the value in mobbing, just kind of going back to that. And there's actually stories that I still hear today from that organization where, we don't mob, 100% of the time. We don't mob 50% of the time, but we are mobbing every now and then, which is awesome.
I mean, something to point out is while we didn't have developers with us from their side, we did include their testers, and their testers were mobbing with us.
Yep.
They were coding with us. They were committing from trunk to production with us.
Yes.
And that, I think, was a new thing for them. Kody, you might know more, but I don't think they had that experience before joining us.
No. And actually one of them was, thinking about what if I transitioned to a developing role. So we gave them an opportunity. And again, like they were part of, they joined the mob. So we also were getting their expertise in this product that none of us knew.
Exactly.
So it was great. We had them actually write some code that helped them understand too, what is the exact, because the other thing too with all of this was we're talking about a 10-year-old point of sale app that has 10 years of features.
That's right.
And 10 years worth of different hands on it. And so there was so much there that there was no one person that knew everything that existed on this point of sale.
Okay, so a couple questions here. We have from Tim, our own Tim Odinger here. How much code was written when you implemented the automated deployment? There was not a lot of code. I want to say within we had, I think in the first week we got up at least CI where it ran the tests when we pushed to main or to trunk. The deployment to both the Google Play Store and the Apple test flight, that took a little bit longer just because automating that's a little bit more of a pain. But we tried to do that as soon as possible because the last thing you want to do is write a whole project and then figure out how to deploy it to production.
Right.
So
how do we get it there? That's another big thing too that we did and we focused on in the beginning was, okay, what do we think are the most difficult things that we're going to have to do. And those are the things that we tried to tackle first.
Yeah, the riskiest stuff. Yep.
The riskiest.
Yeah. What was really great is we had the product owner embedded pretty much in the team. And then we had the person who was the original creator of that 10-year-old product that was part of the team as well. Those things were extremely helpful in facilitating us moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we got another great question here. How did you manage handoffs when 3 different teams from 3 different time zones were working? And that's a great question. And that was a great problem we ran into immediately.
Yeah. We sliced everything very small so that each team could actually take, and then people are always polling and pushing, to try. So we always had the latest and greatest.
Yeah. So like walking through this, at least in the US, it was fine because we established working hours, and it wasn't a full 8 hours, but 6 hours where most of the team or all the team you're expected to kind of be around. And then you might be working before that, you might be working after that, but those are the core working hours. So if there's any synchronization or anything that we need to do, we're doing. The other thing to mention that we didn't mention was we were multi-mobbing. So we had 8 of us. We were mob programming typically in teams of between 2 to 4 developers, sometimes 5 to 7 if it was a big problem. The beginning of the project, when we're first building everything, we definitely were bigger.
Very well. Yeah.
But then introducing the time zones like Europe and India, where that's not going to work with the working hours. Mm-hmm. We use this technique just called shepherding, where we had some folks that were experts on the team, just folks that just were around and kind of knew a lot of the code base. Kind of join them for like first 2 or 4 weeks.
Couple out, yeah.
Again, and we made sure that was okay because some people were like waking up at 1 a.m. or something like that. And then what Wyatt was saying, which is we were slicing stories up very thinly to make it so, okay, I could see how from this existing product how this little piece could fit in. Yes. And trying to make them small enough that it was, you could figure out kind of where the feature was, and also making sure that product was on board to be able to answer questions. There's a little bit of a longer delay, but we were able to make it work.
Yeah, we're doing lots of story mapping and discovery trees, and people who took those small pieces of work, that team took the small piece of work, we'd make sure that everyone was involved with the mapping and acceptance criteria and the discovery trees to know what we need to do.
Right. And then we always did have a morning sync where we had a little bit of overlap with everyone. Yes. And we could get out any questions or help needed in those sessions.
Yeah. You want to touch on dynamic teaming? It sort of fits in this a little bit.
Yeah. So with that too, like we're multi-mobbing. Yeah. So, and the way that we did this was not, me and Jessica work together 24/7. No, we really, as a team, made it visible. We had a team board that we're all remote. So we were using Miro, I believe. Right. Yeah. So we had a giant team board, and in that team board, we had the stories that were basically ready to be worked on, the things that we want to work on next. We helped working with product to make sure that was prioritized. And then folks could grab that and then work on it. And the way, again, we didn't decide who worked on what. Oh, I want to work on this. Anybody else want to work on this? Yeah, that sounds fun. And as the team kind of got bigger, and folks were able to move around too. Sometimes I'd be in a mob and be like, I'm not providing too much value, or what?
Or so many times I'd be in a mob and maybe we're stuck on something, and I'd reach out to Kody, and Kody can come over to ours.
Yeah.
So it was very fluid.
Very fluid. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And again, no one telling anybody what to do, so you felt empowered to go and work on this thing. And because of that, I feel like there was so much more buy-in that, I want to see this thing through, than being told, oh yes, Jessica, you've got to migrate the database from 2.01 to 2.02, please. Yay. Get it done by Friday.
Yeah, that daily team board was really something. I mean, it was full.
You constantly,
Yeah,
yes.
it was verbose, so there was no questioning, what we need to do. Yeah.
Okay. And then another great question right here that I think is very fitting to the conversation. And I love the name Code Monkey. How can everyone working on the same thing be faster than everyone working in parallel on separate things? So again, we took a lot of people that did not have any expertise in the product
Yeah.
and maybe even the tech stack. Again, we were integrating with a backend, an existing backend. None of us knew it.
Mhm.
So if we were all like given, if Jessica was given her database migration task, when you have zero context on what's going on and you need to get things done immediately, it would have taken people so much longer to get that context.
Yeah.
But then what? Then we're all only have that context and have to try to share. And I can tell you what I did, but you're not gonna really understand the experience or all the details unless you were actually there.
You remember when Brett joined and he was able to commit within the first
Same
hour
day.
or two? He like just blew his top. Are you freaking kidding
Okay,
me?
well, Brett was maybe the quickest, even, but I think even everybody
Yeah.
as they joined, as the project grew, were still able to commit the same day within 2-3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, because of this, working on things, we were working on some things in parallel. Like we weren't all one giant mob all the
No,
time. Now there was
no.
times where we decided that was the right way to work,
Yeah. I
because
think the majority of times it was mobs of anywhere between 3 and maybe 4.
I'd say,
we
yeah,
were 3 to 4 typically.
Yeah, typically.
Um, and
So
we had a lot we needed to get done, and a lot of it we kind of had at that point we had to share context of like the architecture of the system.
that's right.
So that at that point it was really just, hey, we got to get a bunch of things done.
And that was facilitated by the reteaming. We would constantly rotate and not just stay, in our pair marriages or ensemble marriages.
right.
Yep. Cool.
Just
I think
reading.
it's fair to mention that we didn't do this in one big bang. Okay, we did this in stages. So we didn't have to work on the entire thing all at once and then
Mhm.
deliver all at once and test all at once. We did it in stages. We got it ready. We got it ready at first for just a donut shop. Well, donut shop doesn't need every single feature. So when we're working on one thing, we can just get stuff across the line and get it to the customer. And then the next thing, get it across the line.
Yeah, donut shop was cash only, right? No credit cards, no
No
payments.
credit cards, right?
Yep. Just simple.
Exactly.
And from that too, like that's, again, we created that walking skeleton first, so then we have what we're considering now production. Now the app isn't released to customers, but we're still treating that like production. If a
Absolutely.
defect goes out there, then oh no, that's bad. We need to fix that. And we were, we can't ever break trunk. And the beauty with all of this then is now if anybody ever wants to try the product out, the current state of it, they can try it. Go download it from the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS place. But from that, there's one quote I wanted to read out from one of the director of product that worked with us, because of having a very, very stable product from the beginning and us kind of continuously adding on to it, but not decreasing the quality.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I was able to give my executive the test build, and I didn't have to follow him around like we normally do, explaining what buttons not to press or what bugs to watch out for during the live demo. I knew this worked and had full confidence he could not break it. And to add on to that quote, he was telling me more in that story that like the executive was like, woo, and like kind of ran around with the iPad and was like, look at me. Like actually like using it. And this was, I don't know, 4 months, 5 months into
This is early in the project. Yeah.
Yeah. So the organization was not used to that. They were used to the big bang, like wait a year, then run it through a lot of manual testers.
Send it back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Try to remember what you were working on at that,
Yeah, we were definitely doing small batch development and delivery. Yeah.
We didn't have time otherwise. Like we can't. These
Oh,
feedback loops would have been so long that we would have still been working on this product.
Yeah.
right. And then what? They were actively losing customers. They needed to get this across the line, and it needed to be a good product.
Hey, you want to touch on our forecasting a little bit? Because I think it's pretty key in
I agree.
some of the communication with the executive team, with the client.
Yeah. So again, the question with these things is, when is things going to be done? Pretty early on, we created that product roadmap. That's what we've been talking about, which is the walking skeleton to the donut shop to the food truck
That's
to
right.
the quick serve and so on and so forth. So from that, and we created, because again, we're talking about a 10-year-old legacy point of sale. So they already have features that they kind of know they want. They think, well, again, there's a large scope in there that is a little fuzzy, but they have that general scope. So we were able to then write, maybe for the next one, the high level stories that we think are needed. And we try to keep those stories relatively small, keep them all around uniform from the same size. And then we use Monte Carlo forecasting. By then, okay, from history, here's how many stories we've completed in a week or whatever it takes in. And here's how many stories are left. How long is it going to take? Or what is it forecasted that we're going to complete that many stories?
Yeah, and that enabled the executive team to make some modifications on, well, we really don't need this right now.
Right.
So they picked and choose the things that were really critically important to deliver.
Yep. It's pretty accurate.
It was pretty damn accurate, wasn't it? Yeah.
Because like this is definitely the biggest project I've worked on using Monte Carlo forecasting, and it was still very accurate.
Yeah.
That's why when I'm on team no estimates, I just am. I don't like to look into a crystal ball, but that's why I do like Monte Carlo, is because you're just taking actual data and
That's right. Yeah.
so it lowers the guesswork.
That's right.
Yeah, there was no tomorrow. Like there's none of that estimation.
Yeah, don't ask me to do that.
Yeah. And I think maybe that is a good thing to call out real quick, is there was a lot of maybe what a typical team like ceremonies might be. We really were as lean as we could be with the process, again, to really get a product out as fast as we could.
Yeah.
So we had a daily huddle, and even that we sometimes didn't have. And the daily huddle was anywhere between 5 minutes to 30 minutes, usually around 5.
Yeah, typically 5 or 10. I mean, if it's 30, we did a breakout. We did parking lot sessions, and people, who wanted to be part of that conversation then participated.
Yeah, we had a retrospective
every week,
and then we had a story mapping session. And the story mapping session, not the whole team was expected to go to either. I really think that was it.
Yeah.
That was our ceremonies.
Yeah. We did high-level estimation of the feature sizes with a small group, just to get a baseline, right?
Way past like the next big product on the roadmap. So like we just completed food truck, so that the quick serve, that one we would have the stories for, but the ones after that, to have that general thinking. But we got a couple questions here.
Yeah, Tim asked, did we use 80, 70, 90? We communicated a range anywhere between 85 and 95.
Yeah, 85 was definitely like pretty accurate. That was working really well for us.
Yeah.
And Matt asked this question too. Oh, sorry. How did you transition from production to actually having customers use it? Any big bang data migrations? No. It was, customers are using it. That was the only difference.
Pretty much it.
And no, not even our release strategy didn't change from the second month we started the project. It was exactly the same, which was nice. And this is why I think the walking skeleton technique, and then actually getting something to production, even if customers can't see it or use it, is a really great technique.
Right.
Josh asked a question about what role did AC's acceptance criteria play in the work? They played a number of different roles. One, with the ACs, we discovered if something was in scope because we wanted parity. The client wanted parity. And we discovered if things were in scope or out of scope. It also gave us an opportunity to slice the stories thinly. So then we were always able to work in small batches.
Yep. And our ACs were very much kind of written like Gherkin syntax of given this state of the world, when I do this thing, then this other thing happens.
Yeah, but so anyone can come in there and understand what it is. Yeah.
When we saw, I'm sorry, I was just going to say, when we saw multiple connectors, we'd split the story even further, and or as an example.
Right. And that's why I really like those discovery trees, because as you go on, you discover things, and sometimes that means splitting it out into something else that you do later.
But going back to, again, keeping things lean, the stories really were a role action context, name of what's going on, an acceptance criteria that should be given when then, with no ands, ors, or any fanciness, similarly sized. And that was it. And then everything that we pushed had to not do anything negative to production. So we're not pushing out anything that introduced bugs, that makes things less visually good. We really tried to make it so this is already a production system, and we're just adding the next feature to it. We did for some things like that too, because again, how can you do that with adding some new features? We didn't per se use feature flags, but we did. We had a local way of kind of doing it, or at least we could control, oh yeah, we only see this for the time being. We had there's this, again, it was in React Native. So we had this React Native environment variable package that we just used to be like, yep, don't show this unless you have the environment flag on. And then when it was good enough where it didn't introduce a negative experience, then we remove that. Let's see. Oh, hi, Cindy. This is Cindy. She asked for small size features, so accessibility, mobile, etc., be part of delivery AC. We did definitely care about accessibility. It wasn't part of the AC, but it was part of everything should be accessible. So whenever we added any images, that all had the text on there. We also tried to make sure if there was any weird layouts that had accessibility text, so it'd be able to be read. That's a great question.
She asked another one down a couple more after Brett. How do we prioritize bug fixes versus finishing new stories or features?
Yeah, so we try to make it so if there was a bug, we would fix it. Immediately. Yeah, I know there's this movement like the no bug movement, but basically we really want it so there's no defects. Again, it's a production system. And we did not have the time to spend on a mound of defects.
No, absolutely not. It's like the same thing in your house. If you let each room get messy, all of a sudden you have an overwhelming mess to clean up. We did not have time for that. So
really minimal. Yeah.
If anything came up, we tackled it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it didn't mean we weren't still finishing new stories. We had different mobs doing different things. So the work was still moving on and continuing and getting across the line.
Yeah. So a lot of flow, high flow in that team. It was really remarkable.
Yep. It's great. And I think we're right around time.
Any last questions? Yeah.
Any other quick questions here? Any blue line docs provided by the designer? So at least we did add, this is one thing we didn't bring up, but there was some UX designers we worked with. We actually brought them into the mob.
Yeah.
In terms of did they have Alley experience? I'm not sure, but I definitely kept asking, we'll make sure this is accessible. And I know they were trying to do things like that, with minimum contrast ratio and things like that. Oh, and Code Monkey asks, how do I get IL to come work with my company? Message any of us, and we can chat.
Absolutely.
And the last thing I'll say is, again, we're talking about a case study. We wrote this case study. It's on our page. It's, I think, shared in the comments already. Take a look, read that. If there's any other questions, feel free to message any of us, respond to the post. I'd be happy to keep talking about this. This was a really fun
there's a lot in there that we weren't able to talk to today, but a lot of great stuff. I encourage you to go and read it.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a year and a half project where we had 20 people working in a mob together. It was some of the best code I've ever seen in my life and I've produced in my life. And it was some of the most fun I've ever had. So love talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. It's been fun.
All right. Thank you all.
All right. Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.
Kody, do you stop it?